going to be really awkward for the people listening. There's nothing like Nicholas starting off the show with a good Viagra joke at your expense. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, I'll try not to swear in the opening. DSG and Geeks Worldwide Radio proudly presents to you the greatest, and I mean the greatest, podcasting team in the world. He's the Fry Guy, Nick Fryer. I'm the friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe, and together we are the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby. Didn't say podcast this week, Nicholas. How about that? Huh?
Look at you. At least one of us is firing on all cylinders. Yeah,
well, that's
good.
Smashed an energy drink too.
Oh, well, that'll do. We're definitely on opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm trying to wind down from the day with a nice hot giant ass mug of tea. But
go back to foggy London town. Christ, tea.
Sorry, not sorry. But I do want to remind everybody before we get going, as always, make sure you subscribe to one of our audio channels if you have not already. That's the only place you're going to find our Friarside chats, speaking of London, we do have some friends across the pond that we hear from time to time. Has been a little bit since we talked to any of them. But
you sound like you're from London.
You never know when one of those are going to pop up. Joe and I, frankly, don't always know when those are going to pop up too. So much shit changes all the friggin' time. But make sure you subscribe there, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Geeks Worldwide Radio, SoundCloud, Amazon, all those different places. And if you're listening on Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Anywhere else, leave the highest rating review that you can. If you leave anything less, you'll learn the real meaning of backcrack. And trust me, you don't want to know what that is. I found out right before the show, and it's very unsettling. But we got a lot to get to today, Joe. We got possibly our last mainline episode of the year, possibly not, because we do have some specials that we do at the end of the year for the holiday season, going into the new year, all that kind of stuff. We may be able to sneak in one more, but not sure. But either way, we're right up against one more trade. Let's get into catching up right away. What do you got for me?
Well, real quick, I think if everything pans out, we will get to a trade because we're at issue 89 today, Nicholas, and it might be just the second trade we've done all year.
Really?
If we get to it, I think so.
Okay,
I think so. Yeah,
that's okay. I'll take that honestly at this point.
I'll have to go back and double check, but it has been a GD hot minute. I mean, now we have over the past over the past month really racked up a couple of mainline episodes here, and you'll notice for those watching, you see the graphics behind Nicholas and I. There's his book and there's my book, and it says the issue number. Well, when I was doing the Photoshop today, and Nicholas Moon making this, I realized that I don't think that I always update everything else, but where it says issue 89. It had said issue 82, which would mean that I haven't updated the issue number in some time.
Oh, that's good. That's good that we both caught it. Yeah,
I know, right? So,
yeah.
Anywho, I did catch up on a couple of books this week. Finally read Big Game issue 4.
Okay.
I mean, this book is absolutely freaking crackers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just anyone and everyone is just, biting the GD bullet, and it's really something else. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's someone alone, like the one person that didn't die. I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they're still going because I wasn't going to be able to handle that, I don't think. But absolutely crazy. Kilmore issue 2. This book's crackers, man. Like, as wild as Big Game 4 is, this book is just as wild, but on a completely different, just more menacing serial killer, aspect. This is, again, if you're into that kind of stuff.
This is the Berenstein Bears-ish one, right?
No. That is What Lies Beneath the Trees or something like that.
Okay. But they're both IDW though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then House of Slaughter issue 19. Like,
nice.
Okay, it's it's going.
You have a very hot and cold relationship with that one.
I do, because it had been on a pretty good heater, and now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I need this arc to wrap.
Okay. As for me, caught up on the Scorched issue 23 last week, Nightwing 107. Finally caught up on Animal Castle volume 2 issues 2 and 3. We're still waiting on the rest of the second arc. I'm not sure what's going on over there with the Blaze, but either way, awesome stuff over there. And then Transformers issue 2 actually led into me watching Beast Wars finally this weekend, which really, I loved Beast Wars as a kid. That was my Transformers as a kid, so that was kind of cool. But I'll tell you what, man, through these first 2 issues of Transformers, holy shit! Like,
Yeah.
Daniel Warren Johnson is not fucking around.
No, and what's been great about the especially this particular issue was a lot of heart in it, right? Like, you think of Transformers, you think of the 80s cartoon, you think of the action movies, and you just think it's robots and smash them. And you got plenty of that in this issue. But like, there's an emotional element to this series I wasn't expecting that I enjoy very much.
Yeah, I am really liking it a lot. Now, before we get to what's new this week, we have been getting some early looks on some stuff recently. I do have one that I
Yeah.
want to weigh in on.
A real fucking bone to pick with you, by the way.
Oh, go ahead.
Because you're the one that gets all the goddamn review stuff and you post it. So you're fucking bogarting some of these books, not telling me and calling dibs. Right?
I didn't call dibs. I did not call dibs on this book.
On the notes, it is red and it is underlined. I assume that to be dibs.
We received this separately before email. You had as much access to this from Jump Street as I did.
You know how I operate. You got to tell me these things.
Yes, I know. Apparently, I'm your fucking secretary.
But anyways, I'm
not working the phone without getting fucking. Paid. I'll tell you that right now.
You'll work the fucking phones and you'll fucking like it.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, anyways. So we have gotten some early looks at a few different things. We talked about some of them from Image during our solicit. We'll get to those later because those books are out this week. But right now, I want to talk about Charred Remains issue 1 from Mad Cave Studios ahead of the FOC for this title on November 20th. So that is coming right up on us. But this is written by Anthony Cleveland and drawn by Andrea Muti, who you've heard me talk about before. I believe he's done stuff with Lemire, if I'm not mistaken. But I think when I think of Moody and I see his artwork, I think of Bunny Mask. And the fucking eerie, God, that character just every time I think about her, shivered down my friggin' spine. And that's at play again here, where you have this creepy looking character. And this is like where Andrea Muti is perfect. But we meet this character really early in the first few pages of Charred Remains, where he like appears in this fire that's like life-changing for one of the main characters when they're younger, and it seems that character may be resurfacing. But I'll tell you what, man, like the way you first see him and then later on the character looks even creepier, very eerie, and I love that. That really, like, that alone is what's going to make me want to look at this, for the second issue and everything. So again, a quick reminder, FOC 1120. If you liked Bunny Mask, while the stories don't appear to be similar at all, the main characters have a similar air to them. If you appreciated that as much as I did, I think this is going to be something worth checking out. So again, the FOC is on November 20th, something to let your local comic shop know that you want to pick that one up. So now you can go fucking read it, Joe, because you do have it already.
Okay, good. Yeah, I want to clear that because, you Bogart and Snake. Wouldn't be the first time.
Wow. You know what? There is one time you can absolutely say that I snaked you, and that was Where Monsters Lie. 100%.
That one and the coin flip, the infamous coin flip.
Oh, well, I
still
don't know where it landed, quite honestly. Could have been heads, could have been tails. I don't know. You don't even remember. You probably don't even remember what you called in that moment. I could have fucking spun it on you. You wouldn't.
I call heads. I never call tails. Tails is for the week. Heads,
tails never fails.
So well, I'm not going to kowtow out of the fucking big tails.
What's new this week?
So we got a couple of trades dropping this week from Marvel. We have Daredevil.
Well, it's not even the 10-minute mark today. We are officially off the rails already.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Hey, but you know what? The internet's fucking working.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm glad you paid your bills. Like a deadbeat. We have Daredevil and Elektra, Volume 3. This is obviously, from Zdarsky's run. We have X-Men Grand Design Trilogy. I got no idea what this is about, but gonna peep that if I see it at the comic book store.
Hmm.
From DC, we have Superman: The War World Saga. This was, I think, a story that had been in Action Comics. But if you hadn't been reading Action Comics, they made it a big priority in Future State. So if you read it like me in Future State and didn't know what was going on in Action Comics, you're like, what the fuck is this? But now you can read it all in one thing, and I'm sure it will be excellent reading it in its proper order. From Image, we have Love Everlasting Volume 2. We have Kill Giants, the 15th anniversary edition, and the Stoneheart trade paperback. From Vault, we have Dead Box, the complete series. This is written by Mark Russell, and this is a book that we had when we still got review copies from Vault. I think we got a couple of issues of this, and it looked interesting. So this might be something to check out for sure. We enjoy Mark Russell's writing, and
Yeah.
right, we're gonna be speaking about Mark in a few moments here with his book from AWA this week. So apparently there's one from IDW. There's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle book. I just wrote down TMNT, and then must have seen a piece of candy and forgot to write down the rest of it. And got distracted. And then from Dark Horse, we have the Clear trade paperback. We thought it was coming out last week. It's coming out this week. The World of Black Hammer Omnibus and the Hellboy BRPD Omnibus Volume 8. So that, my friends, takes us to what is dropping this week in floppies, right? The single issue stuff, the stuff that we love and crave.
Bringing it back full circle from your joke before the show. Look at that.
Well, I'm not the one that had the issue, Nicholas.
Wow. Unbelievable. Throw me right under the fucking bus. Tried to say it was a joke. Didn't need to be an asshole.
I know you're newly married and all, and things were fun and exciting, but when you burn the candle at both ends, Nicholas, things stop working.
Life comes at you fucking fast. Apparently not for me though. Look at that.
You gotta pace yourself, Nicholas.
Yeah.
So from Marvel, we have the Fantastic Four issue 13, the Immortal Thor issue 4, Daredevil issue 3. Again, like new writer, new team. I'm enjoying it very much. Uncanny Avengers issue 4, Jean Grey issue 4, Superior Spider-Man issue 1, Blade issue 5, Star Wars Dr. Aphra issue 38, I can't believe that's at 38 issues. X-Men Children of the Vault issue 4, Red Goblin issue 10, Alpha Fight issue 4, Astonishing Iceman issue 4, Spine Tingling Spider-Man issue 2, Black Panther issue 6, Star Wars Dark Droids issue 4, The Mandalorian season 2 issue 6, Star Wars Visions issue 1. This is written and drawn by Peach Momoko. Deadpool 7 Slaughters issue 1, Silver Surfer Rebirth Legacy issue 3, Cap Wolf and the Howling Commandos issue 2, Alien issue 1, Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary covers by Chris Sprouse. This is a great coffee table book. You might be hearing a little bit more about this next week, as we may or may not be doing a special holiday gift guide for everyone. But we got a couple of books to discuss this week. Nick, why don't you start us off with Dark X-Men issue 4?
Yeah, freaking out. Absolutely starts off with that shit. I love this title so much. Like, I can't wait to talk about it. I did call dibs on this a little while back. Again, written by Steve Fox, lines by Jonas Scharf, and then colors by Frank Martin. And I got to tell you too, like it's so important to highlight both of the artists on this one, just because of how dark this story has gotten and how crazy the violence is. We talk about Ghost Rider and how vicious that is. We may or may not talk about Ghost Rider in a couple seconds, because that is out this week as well. And the violence from that series is on this level, and it's kind of shocking again to see it from Marvel, given where their priorities seem to lie and everything, in trying to be a little bit more of all ages, as opposed to getting dark and gritty across multiple titles. But we see it with all of Benjamin Percy's work. We've seen some grittiness elsewhere, and we're really seeing it big time with Dark X-Men. In this issue in particular, there are some friggin' limbs flying. So I really enjoyed the action. Gave us a great Azazel moment, although maybe great isn't the right word there, because it's pretty shitty what he does. But again, part of what I love about this character. And then also, again, I keep talking about how awesome Steve Fox is at writing Gambit. And I've said, I believe, not verbatim, but in similar words, I have said how Gambit is the most responsible person in the room throughout the pages of Dark X-Men. And that is said, I believe it's the actual first page, that he's like the most honorable and most responsible individual on this team that he's on right now. So I love that. And it's putting him in a different situation. But just in general, if you like Gambit, this is a great title to check out. But just in general, these are characters that maybe the average X-Men reader, like the average X-Men fan, I should say, not reader, the average fan isn't as familiar with. But I'll tell you what, you got Gambit as an in, Azazel and Havoc as some people that might be, a little bit familiar, especially from the movies. Absolutely something worth checking out. If you're behind on it when the trade comes out, like, get on it. But I've really enjoyed what Steve Fox and company has done here.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, this is one, like, I know I went on this thing, the other day about too many fucking X-Men books, but this one I actually can't wait to hear you talk about and get to read.
And I'll mention it like when I do it at full length, and I'll do it. When the first arc ends, I will start digging into this. I won't make everybody wait, but it's something that, as long as you're aware of Krakoa, again, and probably just make sure you read the most recent Hellfire Gala, then you're fine and you can read this. You'll be good. So it's that's, and I think that's just so important for giving people entry points into the X-Men world. But yeah, and then I mentioned Ghost Rider issue 20 out this week from friend of the show, Benjamin Percy. We both are reading this, obviously. How did you feel about where things have gone?
Oh man, it's fantastic. I gotta tell you something too, right? Like, so we talk about Ben's right, Benjamin Percy's writing on this, and this issue, the art by Carlos Nito is absolutely fantastic. And I got to admit something here, Nicholas, because Talia is not typically my type of gal, but man, I'm gonna tell you, they get a little naughty with her from time to time in these issues, and I gotta say, revving that motorcycle just a bit, but. Absolutely excellent issue. I love where it's going. Like I said last time, like, we've been clamoring, or the interwebs, everyone had been clamoring for fucking Mephisto for God knows how long. It's Mephisto. It's not fucking Mephisto. But you know what? Benjamin Percy said, I'm gonna give you Mephisto. And the whole cult of Mephisto like storyline that we're getting in this particular arc. I mean, I absolutely love it. 20 issues in, it just keeps like going 100 miles an hour. And it's just, I've never been a Ghost Rider fan. Benjamin Percy made me a Ghost Rider fan, and I fucking love it.
Yeah, and this I don't know if I meant to throw this your way. I don't know if you saw it, but it looks like we're getting the start of a new Ghost Rider title. Like it's Ghost Rider 1, and it's Benjamin Percy who's writing it. I don't know. Did you happen to see that?
No, I missed that, but
Okay.
I'll go check that out.
I don't know who it's going to be, like who that new Ghost Rider is. I think that's kind of part of the whole thing. But we see we see the Spirit of Vengeance, the skull, and everything, and then we see Johnny Blaze standing there. So it seems like he's going to be involved somehow. I can't help but wonder, and I did see some of the comments and everything. Like, is it going to be Talia Warroad that turns into Ghost Rider?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm totally down for that. That's the only I don't love that we're moving away from Johnny Blaze when Benjamin Percy has done so well with it. But at the same time, he's going to be writing it, so I do trust him, and how he's handling it and where things are going, because he's done an outstanding job.
Yeah. He's given you no reason to not want to be intrigued and interested by or to doubt it whatsoever.
Yeah, so awesome stuff there. Again, 2 titles that have gotten quite dark. Been some really, really great stuff over at Marvel. As for DC this week, we have Green Lantern issue 5, World's Finest Teen Titans issue 5, Superman Lost issue 8, Danger Street issue 11, the penultimate issue of that, Wesley Dodds the Sandman issue 2, The Vigil issue 6, the first issue of Outsiders, Wildcats issue 12, Speed Force issue 1, and Looney Tunes 275. And by the way, if you haven't already gotten a look at the Outsiders or Speed Force, because those are both first issues, the previews for those titles are available over on Geeks Worldwide. If you want to go check those out, whether you're in between or just want to get an early look at what's coming from those 2 titles. Then, Joe, we move over to our buddies at AWA Studios, and we got go ahead.
Yeah. I fucking love this book, Nicholas. We have Rumpus Room issue 3, and what I love is whenever we like tweet something about AWA, they always respond, which is awesome. But they always respond. Usually they respond, or they always respond, I should say, with various images from their books. And I love whenever they use images from Rumpus Room, because this book is like, it's it's weird how fucked up it is without like like you could read it like a regular comic book, right? And it like usually when I say like a book is fucked up, like it's usually either gory or it's just like this is like it's almost like borderline childish with just like the colors and like just a playful, I should say childish, but like it's playful, right?
Yeah,
It's
no, but I
it's
get what you mean. There's like
it's playfulness is like front and center, but then it's wildly fucked up at the same time. And there's this whole like scene where the main character is buying a piece of art and it's an uncircumcised penis. And he just like, and they're just like carrying it and they're hanging it up on the wall, and it's just like so nonchalant. You're like, what the fuck is this? And then all the stuff that we this is the first time we really get like the politics of the inside of the Rumpus Room, and we get people making political plays, and it was like this is like just like Mark Russell is just like firing on all cylinders here. Like the satire is great. The art by Ramon Rosales is excellent. This is just like, again, it's the most playfully fucked up book I
yeah.
think I've ever read. It's the best
Yeah,
way to describe it.
it's really interesting between Ramon Rosana and I'm not sure if Ramon Rosana's is the artist and the colorist, or if
The colorist is Ive
Sforcina.
Svorcina. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're close enough there. But yeah, it like it really does give like an interesting I don't think juxtaposition. But like to have like this fucked up individual who manipulates so much stuff and is doing like beyond. He's a manipulative person, and then he's doing even more terrible things behind the scenes that nobody really knows about. And to the point where he's dealing with an individual who we almost see get thrown into the mix of that
Yeah.
in this issue. And it was like,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but like I had a little anxiety while I was reading Rumpus Room issue 3, because it's
Well,
just like,
especially when they're drinking the margaritas, you're like,
yeah,
oh,
really?
but
Are we gonna really? Is this gonna
yeah,
happen?
are we
Okay.
gonna we got let's see that. But
Yeah.
again, like the satirical nature of this book, and it's like it's so great because what I love about it is that like sometimes these things can get heavy-handed and hit you right in the face, and it's just done so perfectly and so beautifully and subtly that you're laughing one moment, then you go, "What the fuck?" the next. Like
Yeah.
it's perfect.
The balance between the actual Rumpus Room and then Bob's life is
Yeah, yeah,
in general, but especially in this issue, and also like to add on what you're saying, it does feel like at any moment Bob, who is our villain here, can just snap. As
yeah,
much as he's like got like a not he's not shaking at all. He's totally seems calm. It
yeah,
just at any moment he could just lose it. And then the other thing too with Officer Hernandez at the end of the first issue, we think, okay, like with this development of her and everything, like things are going to go in one direction in the Rumpus Room. And it's like you talked about how like the politics and everything in the Rumpus Room is big in this issue. It's just crazy the direction that it's taken to this point. And then of course like things are promised to be even crazier in issue 4. But I just love that I expected one thing and so much else, so many other
mm,
layers have been added over these last 2 issues.
yeah. It's brilliant. That's the only. This is a really fucking fun, fucked up book.
Yeah,
I hope that makes the cover of their trade. By the way,
yeah.
TLDR, fun yet fucked up book.
There you
There
go.
you go.
Yeah.
There's your
I
there's
mean,
your quote.
that seems usable. They've never
Yeah.
denied us when we've said vulgarity before. What do we got from Boom for this week, Joseph?
All right, from Boom, we have Animal Pound Ash Can. I don't know if that's a one-off or a one-shot or whatever. There was no number. It was just an Animal Pound Ash Can. We have Dune, House of Harkonnen, issue 11, Coda, issue 3, and then we have a number 1. So you all
Mhm.
know the rules. Boom, number 1, you read it. Lotus Land, issue 1. Nicholas, lead us off with that.
Yeah, written by Darcy Van Polgeest, illustrated by Caio Felipe, and then colored by Patricio Del Pecci, with letters by Nate Picos of Blambot, which I'm assuming is a larger lettering company. Yeah, so this was marketed because remember this getting announced a little while back that it was Old Dog meets Blade Runner, and I very much get that vibe here.
Mm-hmm.
The art, I think. Blade Runner more the story, Old Dog more the art style,
Yeah.
especially the design of the main character. I think the premise is kind of is promising too, and again, that's still like again a combo of Blade Runner and Old Dog, where you get this guy who seems to be who wants to be left alone. He's past his prime, and now he's kind of getting called back in for something that he doesn't want to deal with, but he kind of has to. And the way that plays into the ending I thought was great because it's like it's kind of a heavy thing, but at the same time, it's done like the reasoning behind this character's motivation is heavy but so subtle at the end of the issue where I was like, oh wow, okay, you're just gonna leave it there like that, and that's the end of the issue. So I really I'm starting to realize that I appreciate the combination of heavy and subtle to endings of issues more and more.
Yeah, this was a solid number one. I definitely want to see what number two, has to offer. Um, because like it wasn't a book where I was like, oh fuck, yes, like
Hmm.
I'm calling dibs right now, right? But I was thoroughly engaged all the way through, and then like the way it ended, like again, right? It was subtle, and that subtlety like was very intriguing, right? And so it does make you want to read that next issue,
Hmm.
and so I definitely want to see where this story goes. Like it kind of plays on some familiar tropes, you know. So and again, like this whole like I talked about this last week, this whole dystopian future thing, like we can kind of like there's only so many stories you can tell with that sort of narrative, but
Hmm.
this one was definitely unique. I enjoyed it. I definitely want to see where the second issue goes.
Yeah, I'm definitely in for the second issue of this one. All right, let's move on to some of these other ones before we get to the final publisher that we want to talk about because we got a few there. So from Dark Horse, we got the Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos issue 5, which Joe is reading by James Tynion the fourth. Operation Sunshine issue 2. IDW, we got Earth Divers 12, The Rocketeer in the Den of Thieves issue 4, The Ministry of Compliance issue 1. Another reissuing of TMNT Last Ronin, which the trade is available.
Just buy the fucking trade. Stop trying to I'm so annoyed by this because it's such a fucking money grab. Like it was a really good fucking book. I
Mhm.
loved it. We loved it. Everyone loves it, right? You want to make more money, then make a special hardcover edition. Like why? Mm,
Yeah, I can't say that I'm a huge fan
like
of it.
just
Um,
just read the trade, people. It's excellent. Okay.
Dungeon
Well,
Dragons Fortune Finder issue 1, Godzilla Rivals versus Mecha Godzilla issue 1. From Skybound, we got The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 77. From Vault, Door by Door, Night by Night issue 7 from friend of the show, Cullen Bunn, which Joe is reading. Godfell issue 5. From Dynamite, Red Sonja issue 5. Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, The Great Hunt. There's a lot of colons in that one. Issue 1. From Top
hey,
Cow.
Colin.
from,
How
from
you doing,
top
Colin?
top cow, we got Siphon issue 1, might be the second volume of Siphon, and then Antarctica issue 5, which I know you're reading. Didn't get a chance to look at this because we're not getting the review copies for this issue, which is the final issue. Joe, you think?
I mean, if they're holding on to it, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
it's got to be something big going on
Yeah.
there. So makes it all the more exciting. Mad Cave, we got Crusader issue 3 from Ahoy. Project Cryptid issue 3, which you are reading. You've been talking about this. Yeah, okay, yes,
I
that's right.
read the first issue and then I somehow missed the second issue, so I got to get caught up. But the first issue was a very fun and excellent book.
Okay, and then Malar World, of course, publishes through Image. Big Game issue 5, the finale of this crazy event, which we need to talk about in some way, shape, or form at some point on here, and maybe we'll do that in the annual. And then Image, we got a ton of titles. Why don't you take us through what we got?
Okay, so we have Spawn issue 347. We have Fish Flies issue 3. Excellent, excellent issue. We have The Call issue 4. Again, excellent, excellent issue. Both books I am going to be talking about. Probably not until the new year, but they are TLDR books. They will be discussed at some point. We
Nice.
have Something Epic issue 7, Geiger Ground Zero issue 1, Time Before Time issue 29, which I did discuss on this program a ways back.
Mhm.
The Forged issue 6, Hexagon Bridge issue 3, Terror War issue 7, Scraper issue 5, Dutch issue 0. Just make it fucking issue 1 for fuck's sake. Junior Baker, The Righteous Faker issue 3. And then one book I want to discuss a little bit, and two that we Nick talked about last week that I just
Mm.
want to one of which I just want to give my opinion on real quick. So Deviant issue 1, Nick's got dibs on that. He discussed that last
Awesome.
week. Is sort of a look ahead. It officially drops this week, so make sure if you're unsure, listen to last week's episode, hear what Nick, or go on to our Twitter page and
Or
watch the
Instagram.
video clip, or
Yeah.
Instagram, and see what Nick had to say about that. But you're definitely going to want to grab that.
Kick ass.
Philadelphia issue 31. Rodney, I fucking love you. Jason Sean Alexander, I fucking love you. This issue was excellent,
Amazing.
absolutely excellent. I mean, Seesaw, I mean, we've had so many characters in this story so far, but Seesaw by far I think has just been the strongest
Mhm.
character of them all. He's been excellently written, and his arc in this has just been tremendous. Spawn.
Yeah.
It was excellent,
Yeah.
excellent, and everything about this issue was excellent. I mean, there's some panels like you mentioned that were drawn in here that just are fucking mind blowing,
Insane, dude. By the way,
absolute mind blowing.
I love Seesaw. Definitely one of the best characters of this title, but don't sleep on Anansi, man. He's been pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, he's great. And I did want to mention that because Rodney's portrayal of God. I think when you see God drop a no cap, uh, you know, he's for real. He ain't fucking around.
Yep.
But yeah, absolutely excellent.
Yeah, so good. I'm glad. I'm not surprised that you like this. But then we got the second issue of a title that you loved,
Yeah.
Haunted Girl, issue 2.
Yeah, as I talked to him, so this was written by Ethan Sachs and his daughter,
Mm,
Naomi Sachs, with art by Marco Lorenzano. And as I talked about when I discussed the first issue of this, right? There's this big letter that he wrote at the end talking about how you know this is sort of this is a very relatable thing for it's a very personal thing for him, right? Because the main characters in this book are a father and a daughter who is dealing with mental health issues, and a father who is trying to do his absolute best to make sure that his daughter is happy and healthy and loved and adjusting to everything. And so it was really powerful, that letter, and these first two issues have been really powerful stuff. And I loved how he said, like, because in real life his daughter is going through mental health challenges herself, she's able to provide a perspective on him that he just doesn't have, because he personally isn't dealing with these things. And so it really translates into the story, it makes the characters all that much more powerful. And there was this is not a spoiler, but this is a moment that really struck me, where the daughter she's trying to readjust going back to school, and she's having a really difficult time, as you'd imagine. And the father, he's just trying to do everything to talk to her, to just to get her to get up out of bed, and just to take it one day at a time. And he says something to her to the effect of, well, maybe you're not trying hard enough. And the moment he said that, the artist, Marco, the way he draw, like, it's one of those moments where as soon as the words came out of his mouth, he immediately regretted it. And you see that so beautifully drawn on the character's face as he says, fuck. And he says something to himself, just like to the fact of, like, I'm not good enough, because I failed my daughter in that statement, right? And I think as parents, or just as we've all been there, we've all can relate to something like that. So but on top of that, it's just an absolutely outstanding story. uh
mhm.
and the way that this issue starts, and the way it kind of wraps right around the beginning with its ending, was absolutely fantastic. So this is a book I can't wait to discuss. I can't recommend enough. If you can't find the first issue in your local comic book shop, grab it digitally. I'm not going to advocate that, but do it so you can read it and go pick up the physical copy of the second issue. This is definitely one not to miss.
Well, I think actually with Omnibus now, which I've actually started to tinker with myself because of just various reasons. I think that you can, we want to support local comic book shops, but we also want to support creators. And if you can't find it at your local comic book shop, Omnibus seems to be providing like like that, filling that gap for what we need. Um, as readers who, especially when you're trying to catch up on things, but that's a conversation I think for another day. Let's get into the actual titles that we have planned to talk about. Yeah, and I believe you're doing an image book today.
Yeah, and look at this. We're getting to my book in under 40 minutes, Nicholas. This is a fucking first. Look
Crazy,
at
yeah,
this. We're fucking firing, baby.
unreal.
So yeah, right. If we're ending what's new on Image, that means I'm discussing an Image book out of the gate here. And so um this is a book that I bought the first volume trade years ago,
Oh wow,
and it's sitting in, so I've got comics all over the fucking house, right? And on my
sure.
bookshelf is where I keep a majority of my trades. And the first volume is tucked in there, and I bought it and didn't read it immediately, forgot about it, and then I saw it not too long ago. I mentioned it to you. Had you read it? And you said no. So the Fade Out from Image Comics, written by Ed Brubaker with art by Sean Phillips, colors, beautiful colors by Elizabeth Brightsizer. I couldn't find the letter, but yeah. So I asked you today, I said, how many Brubaker books have you talked about on the show? I think you've 4 or 5, right?
4. Yep.
4 of them, one of which was a Captain America book, but the other 3 have been, the combination of
Hmm.
Brubaker and Phillips. So this is my first foray into discussing, a Brubaker Phillips joint on this program. So let me just read the synopsis, and then I'm going to get into some pretty I think significant takes here, Nicholas.
You wait before you do that. You read Reckless though, right?
I
That is
did, yes.
okay.
I did that for a trade,
Okay, that's
which
what I thought.
again is going to lead
Yes,
into
yes, of
some of
course.
my. So, anyways, synopsis: Hollywood, 1948, a noir film stuck in endless reshoots. A writer plagued with nightmares from the war and a dangerous secret, and an up-and-coming starlet's suspicious death, and a maniacal studio mogul and his security chief who will do anything to keep the cameras rolling before the post-war boom days come crashing down.
In
This
and also it's so like with everything that's going on in like Hollywood with like reshoots and just like all the different issues and whatnot, especially when you look at like Marvel and everything that's in the news. It's just this is great timing on your part.
Yeah. So 12 issues. It's collected in, trade paperbacks. It's collected in a hardcover, which I might grab actually. I might try and hunt down, have that for my collection. But before I dive into anything, I've been thinking about this, so like we've talked about a lot of books on this program over the
Mhm.
years, whether it be mainline or during what's new or what have you, right? And there's certain books, certain things that have stuck with us, right? Like there's teams, right? Like we
Mm,
have writer artist teams that that have really stuck with us, right? You've got Snyder and Capullo, right?
yep,
You've got Brian K. Vaughan, Fiona Staples, right?
sure.
When it comes to Saga, Sean Phillips and Hayden Sherman, right? You've got
That's
John Lee's,
Lewis.
right?
You said
Sean Lewis.
You said Sean Phillips
Oh, sorry, Sean Lewis, right? And
and Hayden
I got
Christensen.
Hayden Sherman's name right, but fucked up. I'm sorry, Sean. Sean Lewis, right, and Hayden Sherman, right? You've got John Lees and Alex Cormack. You've got Richard Dweck and Alex Cormack, right? When you have the right writer and the right artist team together, they just can produce wild stuff. Right? Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, right? Like
Mm,
for this particular genre, for this crime noir genre, right? And almost I maybe in general, I don't know if there's a better team really than Brubaker and Phillips. Just in general, right? Not just the genre,
yep.
but I think the two of them together, because they nail it. They every aspect from the writing to the art to the story. It's all you when you read, one of their collaborations, right? you have to read it all at once, because it really does read like it's like you're
Oh,
reading a novel or a short story, or you're watching a cinematic, masterpiece. Like those two together, really, I mean, dollars to donuts, I'll put them up against anybody. I don't think they can be beat, Nicholas.
yeah, I mean, to put it into perspective like, two different ways. So the first Brubaker Phillips book that I did on here was Reckless, and I remember when I first saw it, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. I just hadn't given it a look. I hadn't like it, this like I just for some reason didn't get on it right away, and but I saw the first cover of the first trade, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And then I ended up finding it like again randomly when I was visiting my now in-laws, and I was with them like the whole weekend. But I'll tell you what, when I had a moment to myself, I was fucking reading that book. I read that shit so fucking fast. It was so damn good. And then on your end, you were originally planning to talk about a different title this week. When we
Yeah.
previous issue, you're like, oh, I'm going to do this book while you do the one that you have planned. And then out of nowhere, you pull the you pull the 180. But I totally get it, because I agree with you 100%. Like there's just based on what they do now, where it's like we just put out trades now. That's it. Collected editions, OGNs, however you want to put it. They just put that out now. That alone, and they do very well from a sales standpoint. Apparently, like if just that alone says that's how fucking good these guys are.
Yeah, and it's the only way to really read them too, because I like this was 12 issues, right? If I had to wait month to month, it would be a different experience than reading it all at once, right?
Yeah,
Because it is a short. They're short stories,
yeah,
right?
and
They
it
are.
honestly, like I know we are all about the supporting the monthly stuff, but I love the binge reading. I really do.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it is fun. So like if I know the business is in so many, like there's so much going on and like changing that, but that's like a thing that I feel like manga has over,
yeah,
Western American comics, or whatever you want to call it. Like
yeah.
but it's a conversation again for another fucking day.
Yeah, but like I said, like I read like so I as soon as I read like 3 pages, and I said, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
switching books, right? I'm
100%.
switching, and neither of us have read Criminal yet, right?
No, but I
Which is
think
the
I
book
own
that,
that one.
and you have dibs on it, so read it,
Okay,
right?
there you go.
So I can read it, right?
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Yep, I'll
Because
move up
this
the
is the
list.
book that I think really launched, these two. But
I got a few others, I think, too.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so absolutely excellent. So this is again 1940s Hollywood. Like what's great about this series is that like there's enough nonfiction stuff in here that just enhances the overall the fictional story that they've created. So you're looking at 1940s Hollywood, communism, like fear of commies, outing commies, right? That was a real thing that happened in this country's history, and that is very prevalent in this story. One of the characters in this book is actually blacklisted, right? And so that was the thing, right? You get that from Seinfeld. Remember, you got Elaine got her boyfriend, communist boyfriend, blacklisted from the Chinese restaurant, uh, which is a great episode. But you know, that's that's what I love about these guys. They whatever they're writing, whatever crime story they are writing, whether it's 1940s Hollywood or you get, it's the Reckless series that's a little bit more modern.
Mhm.
It's excellent. They nail every
So good.
little detail. If you've ever seen LA Confidential, I know I referenced that movie a lot when talking about these types of stories. They nail it, right? They
Mhm.
nail the time period. They nail the pulp noir feel that I absolutely love. For anybody that's ever read The Maltese Falcon, written by Dashiell Hammett, who does have a minor role in this story, Sam Spade is one of the great noir detectives, right? Dashiell Hammett's like really one of the godfathers or the forefathers of these types of books, and they absolutely nail it. So it's 12 issues, right? It's not action packed, right? But it's very character driven. You're very engaged in the unfolding of events, very engaged with the unfolding of the layers of the characters. I mean, it starts off very ominously with the death of a Hollywood starlet, and one of the writers of the movies that she's in is passed out in a bathtub. So he's at the scene of the crime, but the first several issues, his memory's fuzzy. He can't remember. He only has faded memories of what happened. So did I do it? Who did? So you get that sort of complexity to it, which I absolutely love. Again, you get like Clark Gable makes a brief appearance in this, right? He's an old timey Hollywood actor. So like, I just love that, that subtle, like, we're going to bring in some elements of the real world into this fictional crime story. And throughout the issues, you're getting a little bit more, and it's not really until the issue 11 and 12, and really not until issue 12, that everything comes together and you figure out who it is, what's going on, which I love, because that's the hallmark of a great story, is like, you're not sitting there going, you know, you're like, oh, okay, come on, let's go,
Yeah.
let's wrap it up. You're just reading it, and it's seamless, and you're so engaged that by the time you get it, you think maybe you're halfway through it. It's the end. You go, oh shit, that was fantastic, right? And so, like,
Mm.
even though there's not a lot of action, the pacing is on point. So like, that's essentially like what the story revolves around, is the death of this Hollywood starlet. But who is she, right? You're not really knowing a whole lot about her, other than she's an up and coming movie star, and she died under suspicious circumstances, and it's being covered up as a suicide. But the other main character knows that's not the case, and he's trying to put the pieces together, and how it all just sort of like, comes, shit just comes crashing down, and all the bit players in this. So, some of the characters, so Valeria Summers, she's the character that dies at the beginning. She's the beautiful Hollywood starlet. But she's killed. She's and because you can see strangle marks around her neck, but it's covered up as a suicide, right? And so, who's covering up? Why are they covering it up, right? It's all unknown, really, until the very end. You have Charlie Parrish, who's a screenwriter. He's very close with Valeria. There's hints that there might have been a romantic tie between the two of them throughout the story. He's the one that's in the bathtub. And he can't quite put together what happened. And so he's trying to figure out the who, the how, the what, the why, all that stuff. And he has got a very dark secret of his own that he's trying to prevent from getting out there. And so you get all of that sort of, unfolding as the story goes on. He's very much a good guy. But his past, it plays into the story and everything, which is excellent. You
Sounds
have
like he's a bad guy. I don't
no,
know.
he's not, though. He's not. Trust me. You read it. He's not a bad guy. The dark secret is not violent. It's not. You just got to read it, right? But he's got a secret. You got his quote unquote friend Gil Mason, who is outed as a communist. He's blacklisted, and he's constantly, sticking up in places where he shouldn't be. And Charlie's got to cover for him or bail his ass out. And so the dynamic between these two and the overall greater arc of the story is absolutely fascinating. And he's a bit of a degenerate, right? He's you want to talk about not a good guy? He's not a good guy. You've got Phil Brodsky, who is the studio muscle and fixer. He is not a man to mess with. He's a prominent character in this. And then you have Maya Silver, who is Valeria's replacement, because they got to keep filming this movie. And they need another blonde bombshell. And so, what's her role in this? Who is she? Right? She's mysterious. She also becomes very close with Charlie. So, like, you get all these bit characters, all these things going on, and you're trying to figure it out. I'm generally pretty good at, putting the pieces together on this, and I couldn't do it. Right?
Wow. Detective Doc.
Well,
sounds like a meme. Sounds like a meme that you got to make.
I'll make that Photoshop for sure. So, like, as I said before, like, Bruce Baker really is like, he's a master class writer when it comes to the crime noir genre. But you've talked about his Captain America stuff, his other stuff that he's done. He's a fantastic writer. But when it comes to this stuff, I don't think there's anyone better. And then Sean Phillips' art, right? Like, those two really are, peanut butter and jelly. Like, they just work so well together. They capture everything, right? The art, like, it takes you back. It's like you're watching an old Humphrey Bogart movie, right? So just everything about this book is stellar. It's classic Brubaker Phillips. Like if you're into that stuff, even if you're not, this is a really excellent comic story to read, plain and simple.
Yeah, and I think that's what's kind of blown me away so much with the two of them is like I kind of like the genre that they go into, like the pulp. Like I like that, but I don't love it. But I fucking love their stuff.
Yeah.
It's so damn good. And the thing that as you're going through this, I'm just this is the first time you've talked about them, not counting trade stuff, and it's just it's interesting to think about as you're talking about. Again, it's just another freaking kick-ass book. I'm going to read this and I'm going to read it in one sitting, I'm sure. But again, like we talk about how obviously like we talk about indie books on here a shit ton, and obviously like the Hollywood is mostly inundated with Marvel and DC stuff. I know we're seeing Invincible now, and we get other stuff from Dark Horse occasionally over on Netflix, but not not enough Image stuff, not enough Dark Horse, some Boom stuff. This right here, like this book you're talking about, and then obviously not counting Winter Soldier, the other three Brubaker books that I've talked about on here, the fact that none of those have been turned into something on Hollywood, I'm sure they've been optioned and then it just didn't get made and whatever, because it's all weird how that works, is like that is so ridiculous. And all these like rehashing of IPs or ideas that come out, and it's just like, who the fuck wants to see this? Like, who is this for? Or we never hear about it. Like, especially with these guys, like some of these things, maybe you'd need a little bit of like CGI, like maybe kill or be killed, like there's like a demon involved, but still not that, like these things wouldn't be these crazy high budget stuff. I don't understand why these aren't getting made into shows or more likely movies on these things. It's insane to me.
Yeah, and I believe this book won an Eisner.
Shocker.
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
but it's just you have like this is a 12-issue series. Like this could probably be, this sounds like a movie all freaking day.
Oh, it's a movie, 100%. Yeah.
Reckless could be a movie franchise. It could be a show, like whatever the hell you want it to be. There's an infinite potential there. Kill or Be Killed would probably be like a couple season show, something like that. I don't know if you could do that as a movie. And I'm blanking. Oh, Night Fever. Night Fever is that would be a movie. But it's just like all of those. Like I don't get why those aren't being turned into something larger. And again, as I'm hearing it here with you, it's just like, this is great. Who the hell wouldn't enjoy this thing as a movie or a show?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's for the crime junkie, the mysteries junkie. This is it's perfect. It's fantastic.
I cannot wait to check it out. Again, they're the best. Yeah, I agree with you. Like they are the best tandem in the business. Period. I don't think anybody is going to argue that with you, even the people that you listed off here, because they're just so freaking good.
Yeah, they just yeah. I can't. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move back to mentioning DC. I'm talking DC this week. I'm talking Black Label. This is the title that I touched on when we had Rich Keefe on the show back in October and did our rankings or tiering for the DC Black Label. Peacemaker Tries Hard. This is a 6-issue series by Kyle Starks, Steve Pugh, Jordi Belair, and Becca Carey. Quite a few names that are that we're all familiar with, that we've seen quite a bit in the business. The trade is coming out, according to League of Comic Geeks, it's coming out in February, so we're well ahead of the FOC. And of course, with trades, you don't usually need to worry as much about the FOC, but still, definitely something you're going to want to get your hands on. If you didn't read this while it wasn't ongoing, the synopsis for this: Christopher Smith isn't very good at being a superhero, but Peacemaker tries hard. An extremely ages 17 plus book from Kyle Starks and Stephen Pugh puts Peacemaker on a quest to save his beloved dog from a supervillain who has some nefarious plans for Christopher Smith's skill set. That's Peacemaker's identity. And it goes. I can go into a little bit more here, but obviously Peacemaker is at the center of all this. We do get some other DC characters who are more familiar with, who we've seen with Peacemaker before. We get some Golden Age characters thrown into the mix as well, who I don't want to bring up because it is spoilery for the series. I don't, when you find out, there'll probably be obscure enough characters where you wouldn't know who it was anyways, but I don't want to get into those specifics right now. But the villains in this are Monsieur Mala and Brain. It's a villainous pair who we've seen together throughout DC historically. Brain is a brain, and Monsieur Mala is a gorilla. But at the center of all this is Peacemaker. He is the straw that stirs the drink, as one would expect. And where Peacemaker, the show, is, we got a lot of different characters, a lot of different moving pieces. John Cena is still what's driving the bus and his ridiculousness and everything. And if you enjoyed that show, you are going to like Peacemaker Tries Hard. And honestly, I know I'm biased towards the actual medium of comic books, but I like this quite a bit more than the show. And I did like the show a lot. I can't remember what I rated it on Change My Mind when we talked about it, but it was probably like a high B or a low A. But I give this an absolute A plus, like no question about it. Because Kyle Starks is like, he was meant to write Peacemaker, quite honestly. He's just a funny writer in general. We've talked about him previously. I talked about Where Monsters Lie, which is must read for any horror fan. Great horror comedy. What is the I Hate This Place, which is Skybound. We talked about that a while back. Oh, you can, if you're looking in your local comic shop though, that might be listed under Fuck This Place, because I did see that the other day. Its other name.
Yeah. It's that. Every time I walked into Newbury Comics, I would buy that cover.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff. But like, what's so good here is like Peacemaker is such a loser, but it's really like he's not like this bad guy in a lot of ways, like in his heart, but he's like this. He is a man child, like no two ways about it. But like it's like amplified from what we would hear about him, at least what I would think of a man child now. It's even worse. He just has no clue what the hell's going on. He has no social skills whatsoever. And it's just like he's like this lovable loser, but also like it's embarrassing how much of a bonehead that he is, and that he also doesn't realize how dumb how like just unaware he is of his social inabilities.
So you connect with this character.
I was actually thinking that as you were talking about Brubaker, I was like Detective Doc, and then Peacemaker Fryer. Like it's perfect. Like he wears a helmet too. I should get a Peacemaker helmet, honestly.
Nicholas, that's a great idea.
I need a Red Hood helmet before I get a Peacemaker helmet, though. I really do. Anyways, but in this story, this is one of those instances where it's like, superhero comedy, like a lot at stake, but the superhero or the main character, however you want to put it here, he's not focused on necessarily the full bigger picture. He's got this other more minute thing that's kind of driving the bus and helps him accomplish a much larger thing. So like it's the plot is it's like the larger, like higher stakes plot is there, and it moves things along. But this is about just Peacemaker, how much of a bonehead he is, and just getting his friggin' dog back. Which is named Bruce Wayne, by the way. So it's it's perfect. I mean, so Kyle Starks is like really grown to appreciate him a lot over this past year, and in general, like we see how we get how the business works generally. Like you do a Marvel or a DC book, and that really elevates you, and then you can go and do indie stuff. It doesn't mean it can't be done in the reverse order, but that's like kind of been the way it's been for a long time. And for Starks, I really hope he gets a chance to stay on Peacemaker for a while longer, because and make it a different title. It doesn't need to be Peacemaker Tries Hard 2. Make it something different, whatever. It can be the second volume. I don't care. I'm going to read it. And I really think that while maybe Where Monsters Lie is my favorite thing that he's done, I think this title can be the most career changing one for him, because no one else should be writing Peacemaker right now. It was so friggin' good. Just from Stark stuff alone. And then you got the art, and I would prefer that Steve Pugh stays his partner in this, and then ideally Jordi Belair as well. Obviously one of the best colorists in the business. They give that perfect combination of a throwback and modern feel. I guess modern refinement would probably be a better way to put it. And older comics, it's a different time. It was revolutionary for then, and then you get the 90s, and then things changed big time, and things have continued to change. But this has that throwback-ish kind of feel, but it feels like it doesn't feel like it was put out in the early 80s or the 70s or anything like that. It's much cleaner, much like much more advanced. And you'll see as you check this one out, and it plays really well into the comedy aspect of it, but it also plays into like the golden age characters that we get mixed in here who are like kind of obscure. So it's like, and we get some like flashbacks to those characters' prime and everything. So I really love how it fits the tone of the story and enhances the humor of Stark's writing. I think I explained that how I want to, but it's like it was an interesting experience, like the difference in art style. Also, speaking of all the art, a lot of really cool covers for this. So if you're still just like, I'm going to go pick up the trade when it comes out, if you may want to see if you can find some of the single issues, if you like collecting cool covers like Joe and I do from time to time, because it's got like this, some of them have like a throwback movie poster style where it's like you have like the actual poster and then it's got like that black outlining around it, and then you have like the credits for like who the writer is and the creative team and stuff and the title. So really cool. I had an absolute friggin' blast every week reading this title.
Next one should be Peacemaker Gets Hard.
Oh wow.
Peacemaker dies hard. I mean, you can go any number of directions with this,
Wow.
Yeah.
I think Gets Hard is. Oh man, if you can't do that in Black Label, where the hell can you do it? Right.
And it makes sense
genius.
for the character because it would just.
Kyle Starks, you're welcome. Just make sure you quote us on the trade afterwards, please.
I'll throw us a couple 2-3 copies,
Yeah, oh, that too. Whatever. Either way, but that's a freaking brilliant idea, Joe. Look at you. Look at us.
More than just a pretty face. I'm a pretty good ideas man.
Yeah, and a detective too in your spare time. Look at this, a doctor, detective, and an ideas man. Who the fuck knew?
Damn right.
Where's this been for the last fucking 88 episodes? Anyways. All right. Let's get. So next week we're doing the gift guide, right? That's the plan.
Unless you insult me again, then I might have used all my ideas.
Oh no! Oh shit! Yeah, sorry everybody, but yes, we're doing. Well, unlike the last couple years, we've done the gift guide like really close to Christmas as like a last minute holiday helper. This time, this would clarify as a better last minute holiday helper, I guess.
Yes.
Getting on it for what do you call it, for Black Friday, for Cyber Monday, all that kind of stuff. So
gives you time to go out there and get the loved ones, some good books.
Yeah, and again, like if you're I feel like for a lot of our listeners, like you guys might know what to go and get gifts for people who are comic book readers or trying to get into comics, all that stuff. If there's ever an episode to tell like your friends about or anything like that, this upcoming one is that one, because I was listening to another podcast where it was like somebody who worked at a comic shop was talking about this time of year and how like parents come in and what do I buy kids and stuff like that. It's like they don't know. And I'm not saying we're gonna go and tell people to buy like some of the crazy smut or crazy ass. Like I say go buy Sync necessarily for like a kid, but we're gonna be talking
for the Sunday school kids and the church going folk, Preacher. I would recommend.
There you go. But this is like
you got a first communion coming up.
Yeah.
Get him, Preacher.
So this is that kind of episode where we're going to be trying to help out with all that kind of stuff too. So just want to make sure like this is definitely the time to let people know about scream from the heavens about TLDR. But we know Padre appreciates that. Anyways, make sure you go follow us on Instagram just for Joe's Sunday post every week. It's the best. All right. That is going to do it until next week, Joe. Stay sexy.
Yeah, I will, baby.